the cup and the league all to be won. Everyone knows there's a job to be done, and with a team so fine, I'm proud they're mine. We'll be singing this song. For real hearts of family athletic, and now we are on song. For real hearts of family athletic, and we'll go marching on.
The Dunfermline Athletic Former Players Association podcast is sponsored by Starnut Apparel. Affordable and stylish clothing born on the terraces. Just head to www.starnutapparel.co.uk.
Welcome to Walking Down the Holbeath Road, the podcast where we take a stroll down memory lane with the legends who have donned the black and white stripes of Dunfermline Athletic Football Club. Brought to you by the Dunfermline Athletic Former Players Association, this podcast is your front row seat to the untold stories and career highlights from the men who have proudly represented the Pars. I'm your host Mikey Mokiewicz, and in each episode we'll sit down with a former player or coach to relive their journey through the highs and lows of football, and of course their time spent at East End Park. In this episode, we speak to one of the club's most iconic cult heroes of the 1990s. Signing from Dundee in July 1993, Ivo Den Bieman would become a real fan's favourite at East End Park. Known for his long throw-ins and strides down the wing, Ivo would make 185 appearances for the club between 1993 and 1999, scoring a total of 13 goals. In this podcast, we chat all about his career in the game, working with Bert and Dick, and of course the promotion-winning season of 95-96. So sit back and enjoy this one with Big Ivo Den Bieman.
Strong running by Miller. Smith, French. Well passes header. Here's Den Bieman. Good effort! Splendid opening goal by Ivo Den Bieman. 8 minutes of the first half gone. And he showed marvellous control before the finish.
Welcome to the latest episode, Ivo Den Bieman. How are we, Ivo?
Thank you, Mike. It's been a while.
We've been trying to plan it for a long time.
Yeah. No, I'm doing fine. I'm in Scotland again, so it's the happiest times when I'm here. When I was playing, obviously, but also coming on my trips 3, 4, 5 times a year. I just love it here, and so can't be better.
Brilliant. And you keep yourself busy. You obviously keep in touch with Stuart Petrie. You told me you're going up to see Stephen Ferguson.
Yeah. Well, I've always been in touch with people, and nowadays it's so easy with WhatsApp and LinkedIn and God knows what, But so I just like moving about, and I've probably started doing that in 2014. Then I got connected again with Montrose, and from there on in, I'm just traveling back and forth most seasons. And now I'm not involved in football anymore. I've got more time, I've got more weekends, and I either put in a quick weekend and a couple of games, couple of visits, and now I'm here for 10 days. So I've got a really nice laid out plan for visiting the country and doing some hill walking, watching some games of football. So yeah, I love it.
Brilliant. Well, as always, it's great to see you. Great to catch up. So to kick us off, 5 questions. Tell us 3 of your favourite songs.
3 of my favourite songs. Bruce Hornsby and the Range. Just the Way It Is. Second one is Feel, Robbie Williams, the Networth live version.
Right.
And then the third one, Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang.
Right, I don't know that one. Never had you down as a Robbie Williams fan.
The Sugar Hill Gang is mid-80s.
Right.
The rap song is brilliant.
Give that a wee listen. I know the first one. First one's a great song.
Yeah.
From the 80s.
Yeah, as well. Just the Way It Is actually that it's actually a song that you can turn anything that if you want to turn it. The title says it's just the way it is and just leave it like that. But if you really attack it, it might change.
Superb. I know you like going to gigs and concerts, so just a wee bonus one. What's been your favourite gig you've ever been to?
Well, I was with Stuart on Saturday night, and we were talking about gigs, and I've been quite fortunate to be either here when big gigs were on, but also in the Netherlands. And I have to admit, Madonna in 1985 in the Feyenoord Stadium was really big. And 2 years before, I went, as a 16-year-old, I went to Rotterdam as well, and I saw China Crisis and Simple Minds.
Amazing.
And this spring, I went with my wife to Simple Minds in Amsterdam again with Delamitri. So yeah, it's been brilliant. I've been to the Verona Arena, the Colosseum. So Zucchero, I've been Zucchero in Royal Albert Hall. I've seen U2 in Brussels. Just
amazing.
Class, seen Prince at Celtic Park.
Prince as well.
Prince at Celtic Park.
Superb. Yeah. You've done all right with the old gigs then.
Yeah.
You've mentioned them already. It's probably going to be the answer to this one. Your best friend in football?
Yeah, SP.
Stuart Petrie.
SP, definitely. We had 5 years together at the club. I was probably one of the first signings of Bert and Dick, and Stuart came in straight after me from Forfar. And obviously we had a couple of games against each other between Montrose and Forfar. But yeah, I keep up with him, and he came to Holland a few times. He was there out of the blue for my mom's funeral in 2016. Didn't expect it, and he said, listen, I want to come. I was his best man in Las Vegas for his wedding. And yeah, since he's been manager of Montrose, I catch up with him 3-4 times a year anyway.
Yeah, and he also appeared at the Hall of Fame as well when he got inducted in the summer.
Yeah, well, I did the return favour a couple of years ago at the Glen Pavilion for him, and it was obviously likely that he was gonna be there. But if you had to phone anybody in Scotland and say pick me up from the airport or do this or do that, I would phone him.
Yeah, you can rely on him.
A lot of people would do that for me, but I know exactly that he would do it for sure.
Brilliant, top man. What's your favourite movie?
No Way Out.
Right.
I don't think it's a big movie, but it's a movie about Kevin Costner, Gene Hackman, and Gene Hackman is the Ministry of State or in America, and Kevin Costner is a high up in the Marine, and then right at the end. It's all about double play with Russians, and then in the end, Kevin Costner is actually the double play Russian spy.
Nice.
You don't see it coming at all, and it just moves in all kinds of directions, but it's brilliant.
Well, they'll see it coming now if they've not seen it, because you just spoiled it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your main hobby?
My main hobby is probably hill walking and running, keeping fit in general.
Nice. And final one, if you've got a dinner party and you could invite 3 of your dream guests, who would they be?
3 of my dream guests. Could he also be deceased?
Anyone.
Anyone. I would probably say my mum and dad.
Right, good choice. Yeah.
Along with my wife.
Right, we'll start at the very beginning, Ivo.
Excellent.
Born in February 1967 in the Netherlands. So tell us a little bit about growing up and your early memories of football.
Youngest one of 5. Dad was a flower grower, had his own business. Mom was housewife, and really nice, warm family. Still very close with my brothers and sisters. Mom and dad are deceased, unfortunately. But we were living outside the village because we had like this big greenhouses and land. So yeah, it was, we didn't have much, but we had enough. We had the basics, and if you wanted something, you had to go and earn it or get it or work for it. And I worked quite a bit at the business myself, just for nothing. Didn't get any like in return, and my brothers and sisters had to do the same. So that formed me quite a bit. as a child, but also as an adult. So that's the family life, and I was living in Wamel, a small village where I still live again after all those years. So I was there for playing football. I can remember going with my dad. He was playing until he was 52. He played until his 39th in the first team, which was a really modest level, but he really enjoyed it. And then he started playing for the veterans. And I can remember going with him, and we had like this station wagon car, and I would sit in the back with the bags of the rest of the team and go to away games and home games and things like that. I would just kick about before I actually playing myself, because at that time you couldn't start playing until you were 6. But I was always on the football field with him on the Sunday. And then I started playing at 6 at Unitas. And the year that I was born was actually quite a boost in the village for births and things like that. So we had actually a team which was pretty good. And so I played there from my 6th till I was 15. I was lovely time. Lovely, just we cycled actually to all the villages around us. And it was that stands out in your memory nowadays. Now everybody gets shipped in the car and things like that, but we went on the bike, and then
that was your pre-match warm-up.
That was a pre-match warm-up, yeah. But all these pitches were not right. Was like sometimes some were good and some were bad, but maybe just a wee bit of a background how the football is organized in the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands every village or city has like clubs, and the club is you pay. It's probably closest to a golf club here. You pay subscription, and they've got a social club, they've got football pitches, training grounds, floodlights, and so from 6 onwards to veterans, and now it's girls as well, and women, female, they're all in that one umbrella club. And then you play against the next village or the next village and the next village. And some villages are big enough to have 2 clubs. And that's how it's structured. So you always go to one club and then you play and you go through the under 6, under 7s, right up till the under 19s and then into seniors. But it's all under the same umbrella club. So it's very well organized and structured, and you've probably seen it, or people that go with their kids to tournaments in the Netherlands, they see the facilities, and the facilities are brilliant, because like most of the grounds are owned by the council, but it's maintained by the clubs, and they build the most lovely dressing rooms and showers and social clubs and physio facilities. It's just totally different to what I came to here.
Of course.
So I played there for about 9 years, and then I fell out with the manager, the trainer, the coach of my team, because he put me back in central defense, and I played all my life at central midfield. And I would run from box to box, and I would just I loved that. And then this trainer could put me back in the back four, and I said I didn't like that. And he kept, and I asked about it, and he kept playing me there. So I said, well, you know what, then I'll just leave. And I was mid-season.
Right.
And during the season, you can't actually get a transfer from one club to the next. So I went to the next village, which was a big club. Leones was a big club. It was higher, and every time when we played them with every team I played at Unitas, we couldn't beat them. So I was there. The first season I was playing in their second team youth, and then the year after I was obviously pushed up, and so I had 4 years there in my youth, and then went up to senior level or seniors, and then played 1 year for the reserve team, second team, were champions with that, and then. This is story as well. It's middle in the summer and pre-season is going on, and this club Leones was playing top amateurs in the Netherlands. Was like second level in in amateur league, right up underneath the professional leagues. So they had players from here, there, and everywhere that were attracted to the club. And I was one pre-season. I'd been to the beach. It was been a lovely day, you know. And I was to the beach all day, and just like, you know, when you back and forth from the beach, and you have to play a game at night. And then this guy for the first team didn't turn up. So, and I was having a game with the reserves at the same time. So the coach said, "Can I get him?" So I played for the first team. Never left again.
Brilliant.
So that was me 4 years in that team. And that brings me up to 1990. Well, maybe a bit of background why I was still studying, because I did my college degree finished my college degree when I was 20. And it sits in with another story that you probably will bring up. So all my mates, they went working, but I was 20 and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my marketing and economics degree. So my dad said, "Why don't you just go to university and continue?" But because if I started working, or if I had left university or college and went for work, I would have been called up for subscription for the army.
Ah, okay, yes.
And the only one to deter that at that time was keep studying.
Okay. I take it you didn't fancy going to the army?
No, because all my mates were like exempt and I was the only one that was going into. And you heard all these stories, you know, like sweeping floors and painting tanks and things, that kind of things, you know, not really any productive kind of period. 14 months you had to do subscription. So I said, okay, we'll do that. And I went to a university, started studying economics, and from the start it wasn't for me. I was far too free, left free, and could do anything. And I got money, got student grant, and I got student loans, and I spent it all.
Enjoyed life.
I enjoyed student life, yeah, definitely. But I was far too free, and I wasn't really motivated it was a negative-based decisions to go study, to keep out of the army. In the end, I love it, because if I hadn't done it this way, I probably would never have come to Scotland. So I was dilly-dallying about the studying, and did that for three years, from 87 till 2000. Never did anything. I probably passed a couple of tests, but failed many more. And I was just like playing football. That's the only thing I pretty much took serious at that time. So this is in November 89. I played for Leones, and one of the committee members was in the meat trade. So he imported meat from Scotland, from Argentina, all around the world, and sold it in the Netherlands and everywhere. And he had one of his partners or one of his business acquaintances on a visit, and he stayed over for the weekend. And his name is Jim Ironside. And Jim Ironside hails from Orkneys, lived just south of Aberdeen, and was regional scout for Rangers youth level. So he would do all the grassroots level in Grampian and Aberdeenshire. So he was at the game that I played in on a Sunday afternoon, and I laid 2 on, and I was like, these runs that became famous.
Your signature runs.
My signature runs. And put 2 on, 2-0. Well done. Victory. So he came in after the match, and he came into the physio room, and I was sitting on the physio table, and I was just like gone. And he congratulated me with the victory and with my performance. But one of my pals that I was studying with years before, he was actually working for this meat company. So And that's how it started. So in November there was nothing, but something must have triggered him, because 5 months later I got a call from my mate who worked for that company. He said, "You remember him and him, that he was at the game?" Yeah, I met him. I can remember vividly. So yeah, he says, if you would be any interested in going to Scotland to play football. And that's how it started, and that was just before the World Cup in Italy. And so, yeah, I said, I'm interested, see what he can do, and set up. So, and then I think I went to Italy to the World Cup. And of course, there was like mobile phones and then suddenly this letter appeared. Ivo, you're supposed to go to Manchester in end of July to meet up with his club Montrose, and you're going to play 2 games for them and then see what happens.
You'd be thinking, where's Montrose at this point?
I know. I didn't know Scotland for anything, I've never been here, I've never been to the UK, I never travelled with my parents or anything like that. But yeah, so it was. So this is the story, that I'm in Italy, in Sicily, and I'm phoning home, and my mum says, "Yeah, there's a letter here that you're going to go to Manchester."
So you flew to Manchester and then Manchester up to Montrose?
No, this is it. No, it's different because, and this was Brian Keith had taken over Montrose after they were languishing in bottom of the second division for 4 or 5 years after they got relegated. In 86, I think they got relegated again. And Brian took over the company, took over the football club. And so he was looking for a wee bit of a stir. And Aberdeen were obviously having 3 or 4 Dutch players, and Dundee United had a couple, Motherwell had a couple. And then here was the exotic surprise for the second division from Wamel.
What was it like then when you first went to Montrose?
Well,
I
flew in because Brian was from Aberdeen, and one of his pals was really friendly with Ferguson. And so they drove down with the bus to Manchester, and they played 2 games on a Friday night, Altrincham and Northwich Victoria. So I played on the Friday night and the Saturday afternoon, and they were like there for the pre-season tour, and they were like on the bevy and everything like that, not on this Friday but on the Saturday.
Is that a culture change from what you were used to?
No, not really, because there was quite a bit of drinking at my level at the time as well, but it was really fun, and so I played 2 games. I was totally knackered because I hadn't done pre-season at all, because pre-season in the Netherlands hadn't started. So I played 2 games, and then they said, "Well, fancy what you've seen, come up for another week." So I flew on the Sunday, I flew back to the Netherlands. And on the Monday, I flew back to Scotland, to Aberdeen, and trained with them and played. I think I played against Dundee United and Aberdeen at the time. Because Brian, obviously, no shortage of cash, and he would entice like Aberdeen to come with their first team to play and Dundee United to come and play. So I played 2 games for them and then signed a 2-year contract. So it wasn't never for the studies, it was the football. And then I said, okay, to do something during the day, I'll go to college or something like that, or go to university. So that's the story.
How did you find Montrose when you first went there? What was the standard like there compared to what you were used to in the Netherlands?
Well, facilities were obviously completely different to what I was used to. We would play. We would train at either at the park, at Links Park, or we went to one kind of school for where we were like was like candlesticks for floodlights and things like that. But you just had to do with it. It was a culture shock. But so that was first, and I lived up in Aberdeen. I never lived in Montrose. I lived in Aberdeen, and there was 4 or 5 boys from Aberdeen that drove back and forth every day or every time. But there was a minibus at Bonnecourt Glass, and of course, after 3 weeks, I'm the minibus driver because these guys were all working during the day. I was doing bugger all. So I was just driving up and down back and forth to Montrose. So it was really fun. It was a really good group of guys that I met there. And I made a comment about it as well in some kind of paper or something like that, or interview, that everybody was talking, it was so much talking and coaching and it was like really unreal compared to what I was used to in Netherlands, where it was like really quiet. Mm-hmm. But these boys were like coaching each other and helping each other out and give me the ball and give me this and do this and man on and urbal, that kind of urbal. Yeah. But the first 6 months as well, it was a language problem as well, or language culture shock on the language.
Yeah.
I'd say, what are you saying? What you mean? And I had a decent understanding of English with my studies and with exposure to English. But the first half year, man, was fun. These guys from Aberdeen, they were just like taking the piss out of me.
Did you find that helpful as a player? Guys talking you through a game? Like speaking our ball, leave it, Levo.
Yeah.
Play it up there, play it.
Yeah, well, I was playing wide right, and that's a position where you really need to have an understanding with your fullback, with your striker, with your midfielder inside of you. And it helped you along. And now, if I'm doing a football match now, I'm exactly the same. Man on, give me the ball. I'm here for you if you want me. That kind of stuff, because when I went later on in my life, I went into coaching. And I always says, if you coach ahead of the ball or ahead of the situation, it makes you a 25% better player than when you're quiet.
Yeah.
Because you can help each other. Coaching and hindsight, that's commentary. But coaching to create something can be really, really helpful.
So you just got to Scotland, you start studying Aberdeen. You meet your wife there, don't you?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how all that happened.
Well, I mean, I would say I would stand out like dog balls in a university. I've got this big red jacket. I've got a red Alfa Romeo cap, and I've got different clothes to all the students. Because I'm older, of course, than I was 23 at the time. Yeah, I met this stunning woman, or I saw her across, and I was keeping my things to myself, but I noticed, this is different to what I've seen from women in Scotland before in the weeks that I lived there. So I got to meet her through friends and things like that, and she was studying there with 3 other girls from Fraserburgh. Anne's from Fraserburgh, and so that was a gang. It was a wild gang as well, and Anne's really serious. She was studying law, and she would be on a really serious side. And then she had like 3 girlfriends, friends of hers, and they were a wee bit wilder and things like that. And they would just sometimes come and have a drink with me at lunchtime in the old Macar bar in Aberdeen, old Aberdeen City, So yeah, and then we met at. So I probably met them through her friends, and then we met at the student union, and we got talking, and we were talking about the summer and things like that. And I said I was in Sicily for the World Cup, and she says I was in Sicily as well because I did Erasmus program, the student exchange, European student exchange program. I said, okay, yeah. Where were you then? I was there and there. Where did you go? Well, we used to go to Mondello Beach, which is just outside Palermo. Oh, yeah, we used to hang about there as well, Okay, and yeah, we hung about with a lot of Irish guys because we were with Ireland and Egypt on Sicily. Yeah, we met a lot of Irish people as well. So it says, I'll have to bring some photos, maybe you recognize things like that. So in the end, because I was with one of my best friends, Arnoud, and we met 2 couple two other couples of guys, and they were one was really tall and the other was a wee bit chubby. And we would play football on Mondello Beach all the time. And she says, yeah, I've got photos with him and my mate Arnoud. And that's true, you know. So she comes out with photos with guys same people.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And we never seen each other, but we like...
You'd be in the same place probably at the same time.
Yeah, we've been in the same place, and we'd go to the same place where we could get sandwiches and things like that, in the same beach, and obviously we were like, it always said that they would keep Palermo dry because you couldn't drink on match days, but it was just a false thing, you know. So we would always find the beers and drinks and everywhere. But yeah, it was very strange. Fate, yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
Amazing stuff, and you're still together now, obviously.
Yeah, married 25 years now, and 3 boys along, and it was still
amazing stuff.
Still going strong together.
Amazing, mate. Back to the football.
Yeah.
Your first season at Montrose.
Yeah.
You win promotion, don't you? What was that like?
Well, it was very unlikely that we were going to win promotion because we didn't start off well, you know, and it was Duke Rugby and Chick McClelland who were the dual managers at the time, and it took us a while to gel, you know, and I think after I've got that after 17 matches we were like second bottom or something like that.
Right.
With 11 points. It was a 2 point per win era. And then it started clicking, you know, and maybe injuries. I can't remember that well. But we went on a 22 game run because we had like 14 in the league, and you played each other 3 times. And in those last 22 games, we only got beat once by Stirling Albion, who were champions. And we were fighting with Gowdenbeath and with Berg Rangers, and we eventually came on top. A couple of games, last home game was against East Stirlingshire, beat them 4-0. And then we had to go to Palmerston, Queen of the South, to win the league. But then national subscription caught up with me. So this is the last home game of the season. I think it's just end of April. And I'm due to turn up in Eindhoven on the Monday to go into the army for that 14-month stint, which I deterred with my studies 3 years before. So here's a big party, you know, just leaving do, and in the flat that I lived in up in Aberdeen.
So at this point, you're thinking, I've got to go.
Yeah.
I've got no choice.
Yeah, I went.
You went, okay.
I went.
Right.
So I had a party on Saturday, flew home on Sunday. My dad dropped me off at the train station, closest train station, on the Monday morning. So I went to Eindhoven. They picked me up with one of these lorries. I was in a big bag with all the clothes. So I'm reporting for subscription duty. So there's all like administration and things like that. And and at one point I'm walking towards getting my gear, and I says, where can I put in my expense sheet for traveling? But you've got a train ticket and we picked you up. Says, yeah, but I don't live in the Netherlands. I live in Scotland. I came from Scotland and I paid 600 guilders or something like that for the plane ticket.
Yeah.
So he says to me, do you actually want to be in the army? I says, no, I don't want to be in the army at all. Okay, he says, do this. So, and I became a conscientious objector. And by 12 o'clock, I'm phoning my dad. Dad, I've done this and this and this. Can you pick me up in an hour's time from the train station.
Amazing.
And that was my 4-hour stint in the Dutch army.
You must have been, from travelling to that, probably quite low, thinking, I don't want to do this, to then being on such a high.
I've got a champ or a promotion winning game to play, and it just totally off the cuff, I didn't prepare it, wasn't aware that this was the way out, but when it presented itself, I just went for it.
Brilliant.
Even if it might have done me wrong in hindsight, but I wanted to get back to Scotland. And so that's what. So at 1:00, I'm back home again on the same Monday. So I'm away to the travel agent and book myself a flight again. And on Monday night or Tuesday morning, I'm back in Aberdeen.
What a mad 48 hours that must have been. Crazy.
So then when I started off in Aberdeen, I walked everywhere. And then I got a bike. I got a mountain bike and then put it somewhere up and probably parked it up at Bonnecourt Glass or something. They kept it for me. So I was in touch with the club and said, well, I can come back and okay, we'll pay for it and then put you up. And so Anne lived up in North Aberdeen in Students' Union or Students' Accommodation. So I'm here at probably 10:00 on the Tuesday morning and things like that. So I just picked up my bike and cycle up to the student accommodation and park my bike outside. And she comes from university and sees my bike there. How's that possible? But it can only be one person's bike,
Yeah.
So she comes in, hello.
What a great surprise, though. That must have been.
Yeah. So then I obviously missed Monday's training. I trained on Thursday, and then we had to drive down to Palmerston. And pre-match, and we won after 20 minutes. We were 3-0 up and won the league or won the promotion. And stayed overnight in Glasgow.
Right.
And it was Crystal Waters that was famous. That was played just on repeat. Crystal Waters, la da dee na na na. That one. And just went out in Glasgow, which was a bit of a shame, I thought, because when you have a promotion, you don't win the league, but you gain promotion, and in hindsight, probably for the fans, we should have been back to Montrose.
Yeah. But for the town and the community, it would have been much better, eh? Yeah.
For the boys, we were well treated in Glasgow, and it was nice, because I'd been to Glasgow before, but not. But with the guys and just with the elation of winning the league after such a dodgy start.
Of course. What was Doug Rugby like?
Doug was like he was on your podcast, hardly understandable.
Yeah.
Doug was better as a player, still playing for us, than he was as a manager, and he would say that himself. He's not a great speaker in front of anything, but his posture and his experience and winning things that stood out for me. But I was speaking to the guy on Saturday that I played with. It wasn't like high-tech coaching or anything like that. It was like forming a team and getting a team together that really gelled, and then the team would take over.
Yeah.
And then that's how you win games. It wasn't because there was such a tactical awareness or tactical highlights from the coaches, or it was just go for it, that kind of stuff.
It's totally different from modern football now.
Yeah,
it's probably what's missing a little bit, just keeping it a bit more simple and strip it back a little.
Yeah, well, sometimes it is. Sometimes it becomes like a tactical roadshow, and you don't see the gung ho style anymore. And a mixture of that is the nicest way. And there's, through the 20 years of football that I've seen since I went back to the Netherlands, there's games that stand out, and it's always like the gung-ho style that really goes for it, the Liverpool AC Milan game, 3-0 down and then still winning it. That kind of games, they're just fantastic.
It's what the fans want to see, isn't it?
That's it.
So the following season, You played 78 games in total for Montrose.
Yes.
They got relegated, unfortunately, but the last game of the season was against Dundee. It was a 2-1, and you scored in that. So did that then plant the seed for your next move to Dundee?
Definitely. Yeah, that was it. Played up front with Willie Callahan, who was deceased recently, unfortunately. Yeah, Dundee had won the league the week before, and we were like, with Meadowbank and Stirling, we were the 3 part-time outfits in a league with all full-time teams. So always in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and we got gobbed fair and square a few times, but a lot of the times we were really stuck in as well, and I couldn't win, drew too many games, couldn't win games. And it was just general fitness and fitter and the difference between part-time and full-time. And so Dundee won the league before that, the week before, and they'd obviously been on the juice all week, and didn't give a toss what kind of results they were. So beat them 2-1. Played up front. Unlikely for me to play up front. Played against Willie Jimison.
Yeah.
And I met Willie Jimison a couple of weeks later at the football writers' dinner, and I says, "This is the first time you've seen me face to face, Willie, because you always during that game I was running away from him all the time." So I scored one and I laid one on.
Yeah.
1-2-1. Very unlikely, and 3 weeks later I was a Dundee player.
Yeah. What was it like going to Dundee then? In fact, before we do that, how would you sum up your time at Montrose?
Just fantastic. Just a fantastic group. We had like I said, we had a nucleus of players from Aberdeen. There was players from Dundee, and at start it was a little bit like bickering against each other, but suddenly gelled. And for a club like that, and I played at the old stand on the opposite side of the big stand now, and it was like derelict, and it was old, and it was squeaky, but it had character, it had everything that like these older places had. And obviously Montrose took a gamble on me, so and we were a good fit for each other, But so the time at Montrose is just fantastic. And I still see the same guys, girls that I see nowadays at Montrose. I saw them 35 years ago, Guys that I went to uni with, they are directors now. It's just phenomenal. And it's just like probably less aware then how much of a family knit type of club they were. And now I can see that. And I'd appreciate it much more, I've got more time for it. It's brilliant time there.
It's a good club. And then Dundee then? Was that a big step up straight away? What was the difference?
Well, this is me, first season, second division, second season here, first division, and then straight into the Premier League, And I wasn't like a big signing or thing. I think 25,000 or something like that. It's never. Jim actually sold me to Dundee. Jim Leishman.
Right.
Yeah. So I wasn't a big, and first time full-time football, as a real profession. And I must admit, when I was a youngster in the Netherlands, I never thought of becoming a full-time professional footballer. You sometimes dream of it, but I even didn't dream of that kind of stuff, because I was never selected for bigger clubs. I was never selected to go into youth setups. I never selected to go into the what's it called, the area selection on the amateur side. So I knew education, and my dad knew that as well, and so he pushed me on that. So for me to become actually a full-time footballer, which was magical, but I didn't know what to expect either. Didn't know if I was going to play, if I was going to be a bit player and being on the subs bench or in the reserves. So, but it was obviously a big step up, training every day, from training at night to training in the morning. And I was 25 at the times already, This is my first time that I'm training during the day in the morning and getting up, and your body needs quite a bit of time to adjust to that. So, but managed all right, my body was strong at the time, never had any muscle injuries. So, I just went through pre-season really smoothly. Picked up an ankle injury just before we went to Ireland for a pre-season tour. But for the rest, everything was really going well. And to remember, it was like coming and going of players, because Simon Steinrod and Jim Duffy were like they were the management team.
Yeah, it was like a co-management situation.
Well, Jim was playing. Right. He was more the first team coach, and Steinrod was more the man. But played with Jim Leighton, Graham Ricks, Arsenal legend, Kevin Ratcliffe, European Cup winner for Everton, Billy Dodds, Ian Gilzine, son of Gilzine, Chris Kiwomia, Andy Kiwomia, and his brother used to play for Ipswich Town. So there was like it's like a foreign legion of players coming in, and...
Was Morton Vakhorst there at that point as well?
No, he came in later.
Just later?
He came in later, and I put him up. He lived with me.
Right.
Yeah. So, I was just getting through it, Stevie Campbell was there, a couple of Scottish players. Jamie McGowan came up from Morecambe. He played for a long, long time in Scotland.
Yeah.
Still lives in Scotland, I believe. So, it was just fantastic.
Brilliant.
But I met the second year I was at Montrose. I wasn't at uni anymore. I started working, and I fell out with the club, or fell out with the chairman who bankrolled subsidized my stay, of course. So I started working in a pub, Charlie's, which was a big pub in Aberdeen at the time. I didn't have any money, so I didn't get money from him, so I had to start working. So I met this Australian guy in there working, and we just had a house together, and a couple of other guys as well. So then I moved down to Dundee, and I met another couple of Australians that were playing for the reserve teams. The two boys had played in the under-16s World Cup the year before.
Yep.
And Will Hasty and Lachlan Armstrong. So I met them, and so I had a house together with them, I hired a place, and I say, okay, we'll do a 2-bedroom place. Okay, come in and stay with me, So it's just like a United Nations of football in there.
Brilliant. It must have been good at Dundee. You played 24 games, scored 3 goals.
Yes.
In the Premier League. So you must have done all right stepping up from Montrose part-time to full-time football. Yeah,
I adjusted well. Again, I was playing in that one position, wide right, and we did all right. And I played stinkers of games, of course, as well. But when you are the first time as a full-timer and you don't have any pedigree, and you still manage to get 28 games is not bad. And obviously the one that stands out there's 2 games that stand out for me. And the one is against Rangers when I think 3 or 4 games in the season, and we beat them 4-3.
Yeah.
I scored the first one. And so that was not done, It was Ali Maxwell. Goals because Gordon was injured at the time, and I gave Davy Robertson a torrid time during that game. So, but it was just like a team effort, It was really strong. Stuart Beattie was playing. Dusan Verto, he was good. He was very good. Alan Dinney was in behind. Was a right fullback. Stevie Campbell. Yeah, it was, but lovely time.
Good times. Times got even better though. July 93.
Yes.
You're released from Dundee. You then get a chance at Dunfermline to go on trial. So how did all that come about?
Well, I did. I signed a 2-year deal. I signed a 2-year deal at Dundee, but with an option for the club to the second year. So I was reporting for pre-season, and you still got paid and things like that. So I did pre-season. But Dundee were after Paul Tosh. He was playing for Arbroath at the time, and my contract. I was naive and things like that with contracts. I was just I'll sign some. I'll sign blindly. So I think the 10 days before the season started, they punted me. And they punted Stevie Campbell as well. And I was just there for one season, but Stevie had come through the ranks and played for years for Dundee. So the two of us were like Tuesday morning or Monday morning or something like that. We're gonna release you. On you go.
You never expected that at all.
No, I did the whole pre-season.
Yeah,
did everything. Never any sign of. And obviously, to get Paul Tosh in, they needed to release my wages and for Paul's, and so that's it. And then that was me. 10 days before the season, fit as a fiddle, but no club.
What was your options at that point? Did you have a few options, or was Dunfermline?
No, Dick. I was in the flat with the guys, and Dick phoned me on a Tuesday morning or something, or Wednesday morning, and says, "Come in on Friday." I didn't train even on Thursday or something like that, but it took a couple of days, and then on Thursday he phoned me, "Come in on Friday," and I've asked Stevie Campbell to come as well. So me and Stevie drove through, and we took in the Friday session, which is never any big deal, And on Saturday played West Ham United.
Yeah, pre-season friendly. Yeah,
pre-season friendly. The closure. Game against West Ham United. So I played there. So, reported for the match, and I think I played for an hour or something like that.
You did score?
I did score, yeah.
How did you find going into that environment? You obviously wouldn't know anybody in the dressing room. You've not trained with the boys properly.
No, but when you do that once, I did the same at Montrose, of course, and you just say, well, and I did it at Dundee. I don't know anybody, but when you're young and you just make contact pretty quickly, and I was fit, and I was coming from a Premier League club, and I went to the First Division, of course, and it didn't matter, it didn't bother me at all. But yeah, it's also like the boys are pretty open in that kind of thing, On the one side, your competition, and the other side, they want to help you. But with Frenchie there and things like that, it's lovely to play with Frenchie up front. And so beat them 2-1.
2-1, yeah, 2-1.
Scored one, came off after about 60 minutes or something. Yep. The crowd gave me a really good reception. So I waved a few times to the crowd, and that was it.
That was it. 5th of August, 93.
Is it?
You signed for the club, along with Alan Preston.
Aye.
So I take it was an easy decision after playing that trial game and training with the club.
Yeah.
What's your memories of that time?
My memories of the time are just brilliant to get going again, Getting used to Dick and Bert. Didn't have a lot of awareness of what was going on at the club at the time, the transition they were making from overspending or spending heavily on wages to rebuilding it. Didn't have a lot of contact with Bert or Dick outside, just coaching and training and team talks and things like that. But you see what they're trying to do, especially when they brought in Stuart first, then Toddy came in October. I can remember Jackie, he was just like a young whippersnapper, really shy boy, just breaking into the first team. Mark Bowen was the first right back. He had played at youth level for Scotland.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So Jackie was just coming on, and it's just a wee shy boy, just sitting in the corner, and just lovely, but full of quality, of course. But yeah, it was a good group of professionals. a good group of professionals.
Because at that time when you first went in, the likes of Billy Davis was still there,
Yeah.
Derek McWilliams, Scott Leach.
No, Scott Leach had
Had
gone.
they just gone? Right.
Yeah, I think Billy Davis was about the only one. Derek McWilliams, I played with Derek at Falkirk, but I don't think I played with Derek at Dunfermline.
Right. So they were starting to shift the squad, weren't they? Starting to transition.
Well, you remember I came in and the next week was the season, so Bert and Dick obviously had like shoved people out because of the board's instructions, and started rebuilding their team and the club with players from lower leagues but with huge potential or huge drive to make it as a full-time professional.
Yeah.
And that's what they did in that first season.
Yeah. We started going properly under Bert and Dick. Do you remember your debut 2 days after signing?
Yeah.
Who was it against? Do you remember?
Falkirk?
It was. Spot on.
3-2.
3-2. And you scored. Do you remember who got the other par's goal? You mentioned him earlier as your strike partner.
Frenchie?
Frenchie. Yeah.
Oh, Brockville, was it?
It was at Brockville.
No.
Yeah, your debut. We finished it.
Davy Moyes was playing for them, was he? For us?
For us.
For us.
He was still at Dunfermline. Yeah,
Before
correct.
he went to Preston.
Yeah, he went down the road, didn't he?
Yeah.
We finished second that first season. You played 46 games. How did you find it, that first season at Dunfermline?
Just phenomenal. Just really, really good, you know. The style of play that we had has been discussed a lot, you know, but it was such an enjoyable way of playing and plying your trade. And we were talking about it shortly, about tactics and gung-ho style, you know. And we would probably struggle against teams who just set themselves up to stop us. But there wasn't a lot of teams that could stop us at that time. And coaching was easy. Coaching was simple, you know. Be fit. Look out for your mate next to you. Do the simple things. Play to your strengths. And then things will come good, you know. That first season, Stuart and I always called this the graveyard shift. Him on the left and me on the right, you know. But I think I kind of really see what the crowds were like that before the seasons before, you know. But it obviously hadn't been like really, really nice for them. But the crowd really got going.
Yeah, and the town got going, didn't it?
Probably you probably know that better than I do. But the crowds in the stadium, they really got going, and they loved seeing us. And I was speaking to Stuart about that. You know, nowadays the difference between full time and part time is not that big anymore. The part time guys are fit, but we would roll up teams, part time teams, just 5-6-0, you know, and it's just like, and even full time teams, we just crushed them at times.
Yeah. Well, that season we were the highest goal scorers in Britain, but we didn't go up.
103 or something like that.
Yeah. Tremendous. George O'Boyle got 27 goals, I think.
Yeah.
That season.
Well, I was speaking to George at that function in March, and the telepathy that we had, you know, or the telepathy that he had with me playing, because I wasn't the one for putting cutting it across and then delaying the ball, you know. He knew that if I was on the run and if I was on the byline, he knew which position the ball was going to come. If I would just whip it across the defender, he was going for the front post on the 6-yard line. I must have put on like 15 assists for him on his own, you know, in that first season. So, and I don't know if I played the whole season with Mark or if Jackie.
I think Jackie came in
midway through.
Yeah.
Because Mark was struggling, I think, with an injury or something like that. So that first season, it was totally different to what I was used to at Dundee, but this was lovely, you know. It's just
enjoyable though, scoring goals, free flowing, attacking football.
Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. The following season, 94-95, you played 40 games, 6 goals, and got to the playoffs against Aberdeen.
Yes.
What's your memories of the 2 playoff games?
Well, it was playoffs, and the first instance, it was the playoffs. And if you look at the table, the Premier League table, and you see Dundee United getting relegated and Aberdeen getting into the playoffs, it was freak. I think Hamilton were and Park Thistle, they were in the Premier League or something like that, and teams that were above Aberdeen and Dundee United, you know. And then that's your luck, basically, you know. And they had Duncan Shearer, and he obviously decided.
Ian, Jess, and Shearer up front, eh?
If you play them 10 times, you win 1, you draw 2, and you get beat 7.
Yeah.
Something like that. So much quality on offer, you know, and it needed a really freak result for us over the 2 matches. If it was a one-off match, maybe we would have had a better chance. But
yeah,
it was stuff. If you dream, you dream against teams like that to beat them. But I think it was unlucky on our part that Aberdeen were such a poor season.
Yeah, but they clicked onto form, didn't they? Beat 3-1, I think, both games we got beat.
I
think Craig Robertson got both our goals.
We are Flow Digital Pharmacy, and we are proud to sponsor the Walking Down the Holbeath Road podcast. Our easy-to-use app is a convenient way to access your NHS prescription medication, and our team of trained pharmacists are helping thousands of people to access the support and medication they need. If you're registered with a GP who's based in England, you can use the Flow app to securely and conveniently send them NHS medication requests and arrange delivery to a location of your choice at a time that suits you. This means you can avoid the hassle of contacting your GP and making unnecessary round trips to eventually collect your prescription. Find out more at We Are Flow, spelled PHLO. That's weareflow.com.
The following season, though, we could talk all day about this one, 95-96.
Yeah.
So by this point, Burton Dick's building a really good squad.
Yes.
Cherry-picked boys like yourself from lower leagues, like Peary, Derek Fleming's come in, Mark Miller's come in.
Yep.
So going into that season, we just narrowly missed out.
If you look at Dundee were in it, St Johnstone were in it, ourselves, United, Greenock Morton with the 2 Finnish guys.
Rajamaki.
Really strong first division. Really, really strong first division. And results like 3-0 at home to United and
we hit the ground running, didn't we? We started really strong.
We started really well. But then again, we still had that style, like uncomplicated style of attacking football. And teams would probably get used to how we play, but also how to stop us play. And they stifled us and they defended and parked buses and things like that and hit us on the break and would frustrate us. And there was a lot more understanding how they could stop us and frustrate us then. And I think that came through after a wee while, you know, and he obviously they tried to swap it with personnel and things like that and different styles but not really working.
Come October, we lost Jackie to Celtic.
Yes.
And then come January, obviously the Norrie situation.
Yes.
So what's your memories of, obviously Jackie, first of all, and then the sad news when Norrie passed?
Yeah, Jackie was my partner, of course. We had a really good understanding. Jackie was, he would just running up and down that line as well. And if he would run up that line, I would sit in for him. But we were both runners, good runners with the ball, and we were both have a good pass, a solid passing, you know. And it was lovely to play with him. And we would sit in and we would look out for each other, and we'd make sure that we defended that side of the pitch well. And I was still working box to box as well.
Was that something you guys worked on, or was it a natural thing?
It's just a natural thing. you see what kind of quality somebody has, and give people space. And if you gave Jackie space, you would know that we would just go for it, and he knew exactly the same how he had to play with me. Nowadays, you see a lot of fullbacks really high up the park, and then they get a pass from the central defender, but they face in their own goal rather than stepping 5-10 yards back and facing
to go forward,
facing the opposition goal, and then go really. Because with that first wee touch, you can go past your first left winger. So that kind of stuff, just in details. That's what you see with guys like Jackie, with Frenchie, with players like that. They just understand how they have to create space and time. A good footballer creates space and time for himself, no matter where he plays, no matter in what kind of position he is.
Yeah, brilliant. And then January, obviously the sad news. Yeah. What's your memories of all that kind of period?
I think we played St Mirren on the Saturday.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're travelling back from Kincardine Bridge and just that road, and just past his cottage on the outskirts there. And on the Monday, obviously, didn't turn up for training. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what all the phone calls and all, like the John Watson phoning Dick where people are, where he is, or I've seen Norrie. And Norrie, Norrie was a footballer, but also a businessman. So Norrie was in last before training, and he was out first because he had his pups to look after. So there wasn't a lot of contact with Norrie outside training and outside matches and things like that. So it was a very unreal situation, that somebody didn't turn up, and then the carbon monoxide disaster.
Must be just devastation in the dressing room when you all heard that news. Just pure shock.
Yeah, you don't believe it. Yeah. It's just something like that, It's so unreal. It's so unheard of as well at the time. It's just, I think, what you call it, like numb. Makes you numb. Something like news like that, At that age, ripped out of life. Stern stuff.
And then the first game back was a Clydebank game, 4-3.
Yeah, but
that must have been a surreal, strange experience.
Even the service at the park and things like that, and the whole week building up to that, and a really big crowd for the service at the park at East End Park. Yeah, and then there was the 4-3 game against Clydebank, 3-0 up, cruising, getting drawn 3 each, and then Robbo comes out with a screamer.
Unbelievable, eh? It's a strange day. But going back to Bert and Dick, how they handled all that situation along with the squad, there was a real togetherness, wasn't there? And it galvanised everyone yet again.
Yeah, well, that togetherness was there all the time, because Bert and Dick were the best thing for the club at the time, because they represented hard work, just act normal, and be happy that you're in a job that you're at. Because
there's all the stories with Dick with the overalls and stuff, saying if he's aren't happy,
because he was working before he became the assistant manager. He was working, You never know with Dick if it's a real story.
Doesn't matter if
it works. It's always a good story.
Yeah.
But they taught us to just keep your feet on the ground, keep going, and rely on your qualities, but don't become big-headed, because we'll put you down a peg or two. And Bert and Dick were exactly the same and like that, and they what they did was create a family, because the number of times during the first 2 seasons that we went to the Gladger Inn in Rosyth for evenings with the whole squad, women. I can remember my mom and my sister going to evenings like that, because
Amazing.
they were here and I said, I've got my mum and my sister. Oh, I'll bring them along, no bother at all. And all the players turned up. All the players with their wives turned up. So you can imagine over the 3 years, over the 3 seasons, what kind of nucleus they had. And I said that in the first 3 years, they didn't make a wrong recruitment decision. They might have been unlucky with a recruitment decision, but then they started swapping again players with Dundee, with George Shaw, Greg Shaw, Alan Preston came in, left early doors again, and they were really good in that. But there was like a crowd of 10, 12 players that had been there with them for the 3 years, which were like keeping the culture going, and that's, we went on golf days and things like that on a Wednesday, and it felt like family.
Yeah, I remember David Bingham telling a story even at Christmas time. Dick would dress up as Santa and all the players would bring their kids in for Christmas.
I don't know about that. I don't know that one because I didn't have kids at the time. Might have been just for the children, but they would go beyond, but they wouldn't go beyond. I wouldn't say beyond because they believed in that and they knew how important it was to create that family atmosphere. Yeah. And that's what they did. And that's what I think a lot of people forget, that they didn't do all that stuff on the football pitch, but also away from the football and creating that. And to be honest, if you're a manager in football or if you're a manager in business, the first thing you have to do is creating a team and building a culture of that where a team can benefit.
Yeah, 100%.
In February of that year, just after all the things with Clydebank, I got in a car accident. With Neil Cooper on the way to a game. It was snow and we took the parallel road of the motorway from Kinross, and we got hit in the back, and the game was cancelled. But I got niggling back injury, so I was out for about 2 months or something like that, from till mid-April or something like that, or start of April, February, March, April, something like that. And I couldn't play.
Right.
So, and I didn't get in the team, and Bert and Dick changed the shape. They went from a 4-4-2, they went to a 3-5-2. So that was because that was the time as well that they put Craig Robertson in as sweeper, and Toddy himself would be the central defenders. And then you had Colin Miller on the one side and Derek Fleming on the other side. But that was to set up the last 4 games. I think I only played the last 4 games of that season because I think I missed about 10 games or something like that of that season.
It then clicked into the last 4 games. I remember beating Morton maybe 4-0 at home, really comfortably.
Yeah, I don't know the results, but there was quite we dropped quite a few points. We must have been like just in mid-February must have been better off than when we were in mid-April. But yeah, I just played a lot. I can remember playing for. We also had a 4 each at
Dens.
At Dens,
yeah,
Dundee.
Toddy scored an overhead kick,
something like that. Yeah, and then so I established myself again as one of the right-sided central defender in a 3, with Robbo at the back and Toddy next to me, and then we went up to Tannadice.
What's your memories of that day at Tannadice? Everything was stacked against us that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot in the papers, and Dick and Bert knew how to deal with that, and but in the end it was just a game, and you had to win it, and there was pressure on us, but also pressure on United to win it. And obviously with the fans being where they were and all the shenanigans going on before that about their placing in the stadium, just like added fuel, for us. yeah, the game was. We were a wee bit lucky at times, but yeah, it's just one of these games that sticks in your mind. Cannot remember a lot from the game itself. Can remember that Christian Daly hit the woodwork and that they were just bringing on. If you looked at their squad and their team, like for like,
it's unbelievable. Their team
was like
all international players.
Oh, jeez. Stuart's got SP's got a bar like this as well, and he's got that photo where he's running away with the famous photo when he runs away after he scored. And I actually said, Did you know I punted that ball up the park? Because we got a free kick in our own half and I was on the right side of centre defender. So I just punted it up the park.
So you played the long ball?
I just played the long ball up to him. He goes in there with Grant Johnson. Ali Maxwell dilly-dallies, he nips in and he scores the goal. And then we rode our luck, and then he was obviously Stuart got sent off.
It was never a sending off, was it?
No. Actually met Alan Freeland at the match on Saturday as well. He was the referee, He's from Aberdeen. Alan Freeland's from Aberdeen as well. So I said, "You still walking?"
But we held on. We got battered the last 15, 20 minutes.
We got battered, yeah.
But we stayed in it. We win. We're back down the road. All we've got to do the following week is win.
Steve coming for the ball at the far post. No, that's it. Everybody dives on top of him. That was like a catalyst result, wasn't it?
It was a magical day. It was scorching hot. We won. It's just everything went that day, didn't it, for us?
That's it. Yeah, it's stuff of dreams, isn't it?
It is.
It's like the Aberdeen playoff at Aberdeen where you dream of going through that. That's the kind of result or the kind of match that you dream of playing, that not only winning it, but also playing half an hour with 10 men, which gave us the license to sit in more and absorb more of the pressure. I can just see Bert and Dick, just happy, just jumping up and down on the pitch, on the sideline and things like that. So, yeah.
Bert with his cap on and the scarf round the neck.
That's it.
It's class. The following week, Airdrie at home. Last game. Now, we always had battles with Airdrie, didn't we? What's your memories of the week building up to that?
None. Just not. Probably, as they always say, treat it as a normal game. Don't try to build up, because it's when you're trying to build up, it's all going about not actually in the moment, but what is the result at the end. You're getting ahead of yourself. As in sports, you always have to stay in the moment rather than play the game, rather than thinking about what the importance of the game is. So they did that well. And obviously the Airdrie was always like a nightmare to play. Sometimes we would beat them easily, and then when it really came down, they would just stifle us again, and they would, over the years, they'll probably be our pluckiest opponents. There was a huge crowd, 10 minutes delay for the kickoff.
What was that like as a player, obviously having to hang back? Because you're in the mindset ready to go out and play.
You just deal with it, That's the kind of thing, when you're a professional footballer, you prepare yourself and you know all the things that can come. And for a lot of people, it's an outside thought of what it is like, but you prepare yourself, you're fit, you've just beaten the champions elect. So a lot of confidence in the team. It's Airdrie, but you're convinced you're going to do it. So that's the mindset. That's the mindset you go with. That's the mindset of the whole week. And it's not the nerves. It's not because that's what you trained for. When you trained, it's like when any artist goes and performs in front of 50, 60,000. That's what they are built of, Otherwise, they would never have come this far. And we had come this far and beaten United and had a good party afterwards, and then went for it again on a Monday to prepare ourselves for the Saturday, and one more, like
Yeah.
one more time.
To get it over the line.
Get it over the line.
And then in the game, we go 1-0 up, Andy Smith scores.
Yeah.
And then it goes 1-1. You nearly actually stop it. You try to reach it with your head. Peter Henderson scores it. It goes 1-1.
I slip.
I think you tried to jump up and head at it, but it was just too high for you. Goes 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Then it must have been nerves kicking in.
Yeah. Yeah, but still plenty of time to play. Not any real big chances for Airdrie. We're playing down to the fans, to our own fans, where the most loyal fans are. And then obviously the penalty of penalties.
Yep. Unbelievable, eh? When that hit the net, it must have been just sheer jubilation.
Yeah, and I think at the time it was game over at Morton.
It was close, yeah.
And Morton obviously drew with United, so it didn't matter at anymore.
That must have been a strange feeling. Because I remember the whole stadium erupting about 10 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
We knew we were champions. It still had 10 minutes of the game left.
Yeah, well, that's comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's comfort for you. I can't remember a lot of the aftermath. I can remember that we had to wait for the trophy to arrive. And suddenly, when I was in the dressing room, it's one of these flash moments where you see the whole season just flying by in just like a split second, with everything that had gone on and the tragedy with Norrie, but also being out for 10 weeks and things like that, and just elation, of course, after 3 years trying, everybody at the club just being really upbeat and happy, and just happy for you and happy for everybody else. Big crowd in there, 13,000 in the...
Yeah, well, reported 13,000. I think it was probably more than that.
Well, I never counted.
A lot of the boys in that who I've spoken to about that dressing room just said they were just drained when they went back in at full time. Just like you say, the whole season just then caught up with them. It was just knackered.
Yeah, because I can remember, and there's a famous photo of me with the trophy in front of the away end. Stuart Adamson is in it. Actually.
Yeah, amazing photo.
And it's on the front of the Sun on the Monday. And I've got this little bottle and there's a little bit of champagne in it. But I didn't drink much, and it was like totally drained, it's just like, and on the other side, and that's maybe, I wished I had more understanding of it, or maybe more aware of it, how happy a time it was, because I can't remember a thing of it, of the aftermath. Can't remember a thing.
Sheer euphoria and relief, probably.
That's it.
You mentioned him there, Stuart Adamson. You've told me before there was a few team get-togethers and Stuart would be there, wouldn't he?
We had one Christmas party, and I don't know which year it was, but we were up at one of the Italians just on the cul-de-sac there, just off the through road. We were there having a meal and things like that, and then Stuart had arranged, or I don't know who arranged it for us, but we'll go into his pub and Tapaturi's.
Yeah.
And everybody was sozzled by the time, and then he said, you want to come up? Because he had a next level up, and he just played an acoustic session for us, It's just amazing.
It's a real moment, eh?
It is.
But you wouldn't think about it at the time, obviously. It was just, you were in that moment and enjoying life.
Yeah. That's it.
Brilliant. So we win promotion. You have a good few beers up the town that night.
Yeah, I went to the King Malcolm, I think.
Is that where you went?
Yeah, I think it was the King Malcolm that we had a function.
Right. And then everyone up the town after that.
And then up the town, of course.
Superb. Back to the Premier League. First season back. You scored in the Rangers game right at the start of the season, 5-2.
5-2.
We finished fifth that first season. We got to a semi-final of the League Cup. What a first season back to the top league, eh?
Yeah. Cannot remember a lot of games. I can remember one instance when we probably, I think just before Christmas, we played Motherwell away, and it's like rain-drenched park, and I collide with the left back of Motherwell. Knees, and my knee goes against his jaw, and he breaks his jaw, and poor boy he's got Christmas lunch or Christmas dinner was through a straw, I think, because he couldn't eat for a couple of weeks. But I cannot remember a lot. I can't remember the 5-2 because it was the unfurling of the flag.
It was opening game of the season.
Opening game of the season, yeah, 5-2. Move from centre half. I wouldn't play after that. After going back, I would probably be either right back or in the 5 again, or in the 3 as a central defender, but more as a full back probably at the time.
Yeah.
So I was up against Van Vossen, Peter Van Vossen. But yeah, 5-2.
See that season and the couple of years, the Premier League was really strong. Obviously, Rangers, Celtic, the Loudrops, the Gazas, McCoys.
Just imagine.
Negri's then came in.
Just imagine where I come from, and then playing against these superstars, Mikhailichenko, Trevor Steven, Gary Steven, this like England galore. Paul McStay was Gaza, just phenomenal number. Negri.
Who was the best, would you say? Do you remember standing on that pitch just thinking, wow?
Well, I had a really early experience with Montrose at Celtic Park in the Cup. And then I was playing against Darius Dobček and John Collins and Paul McStay, Paki Bonner and things like that. Trying to get close to these guys. And that's what I said, good players always create time and space for themselves and can just play the ball, or they just whip by you, or they just touch the ball intentionally 1 meter left or 1 meter right, and they're straight away from you.
Yeah.
And those kind of guys, but I played up against Laudrup, but he would keep it really simple. He would just run with you, and then with the outside of his left, he would release the ball, and then David Robertson would come flying by,
Yeah.
And playing against David Robertson wasn't that difficult, but if you had to do that, and then Laudrup, and then David Robertson coming on the overlap, that was that was stuff.
It's a workout.
Hendrik Larsson was miles ahead he was in Pierre van Hooijdonk, miles ahead,
Yeah.
Just fantastic players that done the World Cup and things like that, and you played against him. Van Bronckhorst got a shirt of Van Bronckhorst. But
it was strong at that point for Scottish football, eh? Standard was high.
Yeah.
But we competed well that first season. Finished
we
5th.
did. Well, we were the unknown quantity, and everybody would take us, and then we would get freak results and good results, and probably got hammered a few times as well. But we were the unknown quantity, and we would still probably play our style of football. But it was also the season where, and I don't know how it came about, if it was set on with Bert and Dick, or it was like directors or agents or something like that they started tinkering with the Scottishness of the squad and the family type camaraderie that they had built in the first 3 years. Sometimes you have to be happy with what you've got and build, and your podcasts have like shown that over the years, a good period, and then overstretching, and then falling really deep, and then building up again.
Yeah, 100%.
It happened a few times, I think, in the last 40 years, and I don't know where it comes from, because it obviously Bert and Dick were like, the recruitment that they had, like I said, was really good, and they didn't only look after football qualities, but also what kind of a person you are.
Yeah.
Do you fit in? Do you want to fit in? Are you alone or are you... And I can't remember that in those last 2 years in the Premier League that I played in for Dunfermline, that they were like recruiting and I thought, geez, he's a player that's going to make us better. I haven't seen any. Detach themselves from that family atmosphere and obviously with the English boys coming in and other boys coming in, it meant that Scottish boys went out because the wage bill could only be this high or this big and the squad could only be this big. I don't know. I have never asked Dick or Bert how that came about, but it's for me, it's really odd. It didn't fit in with what they want, what they'd done 3 years before.
The whole dynamics changed, didn't it?
The whole dynamics changed. The camaraderie changed. The team spirit on the pitch changed. I don't believe that it was their decision.
I think it's something from speaking to them that they look back on and think we probably shouldn't have done it that way.
Because there was enough Scottish players available that were like left out by their own manager and who could renew their career at Dunfermline.
Yeah. Well, that following season you're talking about, 97, 98, you only played 13 games, 17 sub-appearances. Yeah. But the likes of Lemichuk comes in, Dave Barnett comes in, boys from down south start to take over the squad, Falconbridge, Huxford the following season, etc., etc. So did you get to the point by then you were thinking, I maybe need to move on to play more football?
I don't know what happened in that season, how many that I just got 13 starts. I can't remember because I was always referring to it as the Magnificent Seven and the Guildford Four, because there was always like 7 names on the sheet, on the team sheet. You could just, those were the ones that always would play. And then I was one of the Guildford Four that was chopped and changed about. And it was pretty much frustrating, but still get 30 appearances. And although it was different from the seasons before, and that made it more complex. You know, if you'd always been a bit player, fair enough. But becoming a bit player, it's tougher. And it wasn't why I was coming to Scotland in the first place. I wanted to play football. And if you'd train all week and went for it, you know, and still think that you can do a job for them, and then either not play or not even being in the squad, it does something with your energy and with your mindset. And obviously football is a magnificent career, but I knew football would also stop at some point. And but yeah, at that time I was still quite happy.
Yeah,
but still that season I was still quite happy.
In the following 98, 99, you were really struggling to get in the team. You only made 2 sub appearances.
Yeah.
So by that time you must have been in the mindset, I need to get away from here.
Is that the season that we beat Celtic?
97, 98, we beat Celtic early that season.
98, okay.
Yeah.
So there's that season after that. Yeah, it was. I don't know exactly how it came about, but I wasn't even a bit player. I was a French player. I was in Soccer Siberia, as we called it that time, and I was probably playing more in the reserves than I was playing for the first team, which is it's no disrespect to anybody, but again, when that energy that you have on the Saturday to play, and it's not going to happen, I said, well, this is not for me. So I think after about 5 games or something like that, with this role, I said I went to Bert, and said, well, just buy off my contract, release me, and I'll go somewhere else, you know, and I'll go do wherever I want, whoever wants me. Yeah.
It must have been quite sad for you, that, because you'd had such a high at Dunfermline for 3-4 years.
Yeah, but you have to be realistic as well, Mike. If the club moves on, and to be honest, the club or the camaraderie had moved in a different direction to where I thought was really the highlight. That last season, 97, 98, the details were different from the years before. And I didn't feel that aggrieved to leave that behind.
Quite sad that, eh?
Yeah, but that's
football.
That's football as well, you know. You're always, as a footballer, you always think you can give something to the team and you can add something to the team that the players that are playing don't give. But in the end, it's the manager that makes the decision. Every player always thinks I should be the first one on the team sheet, but that doesn't work. That doesn't work that way. But because of the dynamics of the squad at that time, probably if it had been like 2 years before, it would have been more devastating than at the time.
Yeah. So you got to Ross County. What was your wee spell up at Dingwall like?
It was a nightmare. Because it's lovely that because Neil lived
Cooper
in Kinross, and I get on really well with Neil at the time, and obviously took me maybe a week or something like that to negotiate the release of my contract. And Ross County were part-time at the time, so it was a nightmare to get up there, you know. So I can remember going there up in a bus and stayed over and stayed in digs or stayed with Neil, who was living up there. I played 2 games for them only. So he said to me, come in for the month, sign a month, and then see where gonna go, you know, if you're gonna go somewhere else or go higher up or whatever. Played the home game, played the away game, got man of the match in a home game. Then I got a flu. I never had the flu as I had it then. So 2 weeks out, I couldn't train. There was sometimes during the night I said to Anne, better phone the doctor because I'm feeling like I'm dying here, you know. That's how bad it was. I was sweating in the bed and things like that. So I kept Neil informed, but couldn't do anything. And then I think in the last week or something like that, I perked up a bit, and then Alec Totten came on
for Falkirk.
Yeah, and obviously the 1-2 between Bert and Alec Totten was easily made, and I didn't do that correctly with Neil. I didn't say up front, Neil, I've got a chance to go to Falkirk, and he would understand that. And so I signed it, and he had to read it in the paper that I'd signed for Falkirk, which wasn't nice on my part. I apologized for that afterwards. He was pretty angry with me at the time, but that's okay. You know, it was my fault not to do it the right way. So I signed for Falkirk.
That was October 98.
October 98, yeah. They were struggling with the defence.
So it was Alex Totten that signed you?
Yeah.
What was he like?
Alec is he was just like Bert, a bit like Bert, you know. Bert was a little bit more down to earth. Alec liked talking about his career and his time at Liverpool and his time at St Johnstone, and obviously had a magnificent career. But he also was a rep in tyres or something like that, wasn't he? For a tyre company?
Something like that, yeah.
Loved his golf, but a really nice guy. Just another old style manager, didn't make things complicated, would shout at you at times, loved me. He absolutely loved me playing for him. He was struggling in central defence. He had a number of defenders, Davy Sinclair, Kevin James, Kevin Christie, and all the partnerships didn't work. probably because none of them were like leading or coaching or setting up and keeping defense. And I fitted that bill. And I went straight in the squad. Or Chris, what's his name? Played for Motherwell, captain of Motherwell.
Chris McCart?
Chris McCart, he was there as well. They had a really good squad there because Kevin McAllister, what a player, you know. Scott Crabb was there. Davy
Nichols
was there. David Moss was there. Really talented squad, good professionals. Brian Hamilton. So I went straight in there, organized the defense, set it up. Paul Mathers goals, and I hit it off. Just hit it off, you know. Just really good results. Steadied the defense.
You played against Dunfermline that following season. I think you scored as well. A game at East End Park.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was the second season.
Yeah, 99, 2000.
I finished that season, and I said, because at the time it was just 99, so I think who won the league at that? I don't know who won the league, but we were second, or
Hibs.
Or Hibs
won the league.
Okay, Hibs won the league, and Brockville wasn't obviously up to standard, so we couldn't get into the playoff and things like that. But I had decided that I was going to go back to the Netherlands. That was in '99. My wife. Was I married? Yeah, we got married that year in January, and Anne was working for the Procurator Fiscal Service, and I started looking into going back to the Netherlands because the labor market in the Netherlands was really tight, and there was the internet bubble was coming up. With my education but lack of experience, I thought, if there is a best time to go into the labor market in the Netherlands, it is when it's really tight, because you can make a really good step into a position. So I talked about it with Anne, obviously. Are you okay? And Anne was working in Falkirk at the Procurator Fiscal, and she got into the Lockerbie project team. And the Lockerbie project team was obviously the court case was going to go to the Netherlands. And so we thought about it. So she applied for it. She got it. I says, okay, that's me. Go back to the Netherlands. So we did. But Lockerbie took a while longer to materialize with all the United Nations and the decisions when these two Libyans were going to get to the Netherlands. So I was working away for the Scottish courts. I was actually working on site where the court case was going to get held. And I was a liaison between like the Scottish courts organization and all the local builders.
Right.
I was playing away. I was playing football in the Netherlands for Bennekom. And then there was like every month there was like a delay when the court case would start. And it was planned starting in 99, and then suddenly it was like, okay, the court case is deferred till May 2000. Jesus Christ, this is me in October or November, you know. And Anne is preparing all the time in Scotland. So she's in Scotland, I'm in the Netherlands. And I would come across here, and she would come. I was playing football, so she would come to the Netherlands probably. And then I said, okay, so start of December, I'm phoning Totten and says, I'm planning to come back to Scotland for half a year. Do you need a defender, or do you need a player? Hang on. And on 3 weeks later, I'm back in Scotland. Signed a contract from the 1st of January till the end of the season. It's Millennium. So we've got a massive party Millennium in the Netherlands. Next day, I take the ferry to Newcastle, drive up, sign the contract, straight to the ground in Airdrie, play at Airdrie, got most wonderful reception from the Falkirk supporters, beat them 2-0. I think we conceded 1 goal in the whole January, got player of the month in the first division. Then ended up playing the rest of the season, and that was us, you know. Anne and myself went back to the Netherlands.
Did you retire after that then, or did you
Yes.
still play in the Netherlands part time?
I played in the Netherlands. I could have played here because Totten had a 2-year contract for me. I said, no, this is it, you know, I'm going to go. Went to a club called Bennekom, played on a Saturday. Played there for 2 seasons, from on my 33rd till my 35th, and then I retired. My oldest son Luke was born in April, and I decided I loved it. You know, I played really against the top teams in the Netherlands at the time, top team amateurs. But I was just like, I was playing central midfield again. And I had a really good striker in front of me, and we'd have a really good understanding about space and about movement and things like that. So played 2 seasons with him, but I could only play half an hour. I played the whole game, but I would like ram it in for 30 minutes, then take a breather for 15 minutes, take a breather for 15 minutes, then do the same again in the second half, and trying to see through the last 15 minutes of the second half.
I suppose though by then you're an experienced player, so you could easily sit back and still control the game.
Yeah, but sometimes the head decides that you want to go, but the legs can't follow.
Yeah. So then after football, before we reflect on your career, what did you do after you stopped playing football?
Well, in 2000, when I went back, I worked at my friend's warehouse. I was setting up a department for him while I was applying for a job, a proper job. Like I said, I'd done college, so I had a decent education behind me, and the labor market was really tight. So I started working for in security as a manager, and I was like a unit manager for one of the companies, which was later acquired by Securitas, which is a well-known brand in the UK as well. So and I was fast-tracked a little bit because I said to my superiors, I said, well, I'm 33. I want to really go quick through the ranks and just get to my level, you know. And I was really lucky. I met a director that was really fantastic for us, for me, and I was good for him, you know. And so the first company, Securitas, I worked for 12 and a half years. I worked for them.
Right.
So that's not a bad choice. I had 5 different positions, and I really moved up through the ranks, just underneath the director level. And then I thought I needed to be a director, and the companies thought differently. And I said, well, okay, then I'm going to leave. And I did some consultancy work, went to Sri Lanka for Securitas. So they were...
great experience.
Yeah, it was great, fantastic. So the company that I left, Securitas, they hired me 2 weeks later. They hired me as an interim contract manager. They sent me to Sri Lanka. So I was there for 7 months on and off. I flew back and forth to Colombo and helped them out. Then I did another project for Securitas in the UK. I did half a year. So I flew back and forth every week to work, to supervise. This is funny. Supervise the British board.
Right.
Because the guy that I worked with previously, he had taken over on a European level, and he didn't like the way the directors in the UK handled themselves, and there was 3 companies gelled together, and they couldn't make a really strong business management team out of it. So I was parachuted into the board, and I was traveling the country and getting to set up all kinds of information. So after a couple of weeks doing that, the director got sacked, and I wasn't put in place. He would put himself in place, and then I would just be his eyes and ears on the ground, But then Anne didn't really like it that I was back and forth all the time and not in a steady job. So then I worked in logistics and operations again. Now since 3 years I'm a consultant again. I'm interim project manager. So then now I'm just really doing fine.
Brilliant. Great to hear, Ivo. Looking at your football career then, rounding it up.
Yep.
185 appearances for the Pars, scoring 13 goals. Is there any games or goals that really stand out for you?
Bar the goal against Rangers, I can't really remember scoring any goals for the Pars. Can't really.
Any games that stand out?
Well, the obvious ones, isn't it? United game.
The ones we've spoken about.
Yeah. The United game more than the Airdrie game, because the United game was that was the game of all games. Doesn't matter. If you'd drawn, the other game would have been irrelevant. If you'd lost, the other game would have been totally irrelevant.
I meant to ask you in your time at Dunfermline, what was it like when the whole stadium used to sing Evo?
Oh,
It's class, eh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had just a special rapport with supporters. And that was because they appreciated me, but I also appreciated them. And I can remember going to all these things, and I would introduce myself, actually, if I'd shake somebody's hand, Ivo then Bieman. And they didn't understand that, why I would say my name, but I would be the same as them, standing in stand and supporting a team. And I would try to make them feel as comfortable as possible in my presence, and that's, even if I would come across them in a pub or in a bar or in a shop or something like that, I would take time to take photographs, autographs, anything.
And even still, when you come back, you still obviously catch up with supporters, and it must be quite strange that when you're sitting in a pub and someone will come up to you and speak about football.
It's not strange because you're used to it. That's when I come here, it's just like a total trip down memory lane. Every time I come here, and it does. If you ever had issues with your ego, coming back here is like brilliant for your ego building again. But it's just the appreciation that I have for them and they have for me. And it's mutual.
Yeah, it's definitely mutual. Who would you say was the best player from your time at Dunfermline?
Jackie. Yeah. I must mention Craig Robertson, because he doesn't get a lot of mentions but like Bert would always put probably Craig Robertson the first on the team sheet. But Craig was different. Craig wasn't like the exuberant player or personality, but he was so important for the team, He would sit in. His nickname was the Slug and things like that, but he looked after himself and he did well, and he would but he wasn't like the chosen personality for a lot of players. But he was always on the team sheet, so he must have really been important for that team of youngsters, relatively young players, young professionals, to go and play and go and do their stuff, And I can remember him and Paul Smith in that centre midfield with Stuart and me on either side. It was magical midfield, and I don't think he gets the credit that he really deserves after all these years of service, because I don't know what happened to him after I left. I don't know if he stayed on for more years at Dunfermline. I don't know what happened to him.
I think he left in 98. He came back as a coach under Jim Leishman at one point later on, but yeah. I was going to ask the next one. This is the answer. Most underrated player you played with?
Yeah.
Probably Robbo.
Yeah, Robbo.
Yeah. Brilliant. What was your pre-match?
Frenchie was Frenchie was liked as well. But I think Craig would probably suit that way.
Brilliant. What about your pre-match routine? Did you have like a consistent routine?
Yeah, I did on a Friday. I just drank and drank and drank just to hydrate, pasta, hydrate. Or do you mean in the dressing room?
Just your whole build-up to a match day, really?
Well, the thing is that I'd always thought to eat well and to eat pasta and rice and things like that. And I can remember even when I took in the Australians, the young players, we would have like cooking sessions and like just cook together and really stay healthy, There was still also a drinking culture, of course, at the time, but you knew when to drink and when not to drink. But yeah, looking after your body and looking after your physique, especially when you're coming up to games and things like that, and eat half the bananas in the UK. Always had bananas with me. Always had bananas with me.
Brilliant. What about superstitions? Did you have any of those?
No, nothing.
None. Funny dressing room story. Is there any you can tell us?
Well, I mentioned him and he's passed away as well. Neil Cooper, he could do imitations of just everybody. He tells a story about Ferguson when he's like, he's injured and John Hewitt is injured and they're not allowed to go and play snooker, and they call it snooker and he sees Fergie coming in and he's just doing like flexing and John Hewitt is just getting caught but he could imitate Bert as well, and Dick, and he does just a laugh a minute with him.
Superb. And he was a good player, wasn't he?
Well, he was very prone to injury when he was at Dunfermline, and when you see him play as a 16-year-old and how he went for it, you can imagine that his body gave up when he was 30.
Yeah, he was at the end of his career at Dunfermline.
Yeah. But even at Rangers, he never played a lot at Rangers,
Mm-hmm. What about the best advice you were given?
I was always pretty much switched on myself, and I would probably call myself an autodidact, and I would just take things from others and I would just like take bits of here and bits of there and all put it in together, which worked for me. And that's probably what made me successful in the years that I was here. And also in the years afterwards in business, because I always said I've got a big, massive backpack and I filled it with all the experiences and all the instances and the good things, but also the mistakes that I've made along the way. And I can pick from that backpack with all my experience, my knowledge, my intelligence, and make good decisions and make better decisions all the time. And that's probably what I did over the years. I know I'm very honest about myself. I'm very tough, can be very tough on myself, but that's the way I like it to be. I've never played the perfect game. If somebody congratulated me on that, I would always find something that I could have done better, and that's probably kept me going as well.
It's the only way you can get better though, eh?
Yeah, if you get smug, if you get complacent, that's it,
Game over. Final question. What does Dunfermline Athletic mean to Ivo Den Bieman?
Well, the happiest footballing time in my 10 years at Scotland. My 10 years in Scotland are not only football, but it's life-defined. For me, it's life-defining with meeting my wife and going back and getting married. I have 3 kids, and the boys love coming back to Scotland. But the Dunfermline way that Bert and Dick represented, and I've said this before, I've used the way they created that atmosphere, that dynamic, that group coherence. I've used that in the 25 years since I've left Scotland and I've been a manager or a team leader or whatever, organising things, inclusive, being inclusive. And that's what they taught me, and that's which I use every day in my life.
Amazing. Ivo, as always, great catching up, and thanks for your time on the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Mikey.
Thanks for listening to Walking Down the Holbeath Road, and a big thank you to our latest guest, Ivo Den Bieman, for joining us on this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Walking Down the Holbeath Road on your favourite podcast platform, so you will never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's one, please remember to leave us a little rating and review, as it helps us reach even more Pars fans, just like yourself. This podcast, as always, was produced by Jan Motkiewicz, and music supplied by Stuart Dusty Miller. Thanks once again for listening, and we look forward to walking down the Holbeath Road next month.